XYZ from the Iron Warriors, here to do my deck profile for May 2015. If this video helps you in any way, I'd like you to like, comment and subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh videos. So, this deck is based on machines with some other kinds of monsters thrown in to help out a little bit. Now, we'll start on the monsters. Here we go. 3 Super Defense Robot Elephants. Good for getting high level XYZs out on the field and relatively easy to get out if you have one of the 2 lower level Super Defense Robots. Also, you can make them level 8 for the XYZs. Then we have 3 Super Defense Robot Monkeys. Good for getting the Super Defense Robots back to your hand to resummon and get even more XYZs on the field. So they can be useful in times. Super Defense Robot Leos. Now their effect isn't as good, which is why I only use 2, as they only put cards back to your hand from the graveyard, which I only usually do using Monkey's effect. So I don't usually summon monsters enough to use this effect, which is why there's only 2. Next we have 1 Ancient Gear Beast. Good if your opponent has a lot of cards on the back row, but not too many monsters out on the field. We also have Ancient Gear Galgatron Dragon. Good for large back rows and if some monsters are on the field as well, which are too strong for Ancient Gear Beast. Then we have Tin Goldfish. Good for rank 4 XYZs. See, as you can special summon one using its level 4 using its effect. We also have Starship Spy Plane, which is good if your opponent has a lot of XYZ monsters on their side of the field and you don't have many. Good for rank 4 XYZ summoning. Also, we have Planet Pathfinder. Good for getting certain field spells into your hand, like Mausoleum of the Emperor or Gear Town. Next we have 2 Jumbo Drills. Good for XYZs, for level 4 XYZs and level 5s, or ranks I should say, and also good for certain synchro monsters that I use, seeing as you can raise their level by 5 when they're normal summoned. Next we have Armed Dragon level 5 and Armed Dragon level 3. Mainly for getting level 3 is mainly for getting the level 5 onto the field, which can be useful if you have some high attack monsters in your hand but no way to get them onto the field. You can use them to get rid of your opponent's monsters instead. Next we have Silent Swordsman level 3 and Silent Swordsman level 5. Good for if your opponent is one that uses a lot of spells, seeing as they are not affected by your opponent's spell effects. Also, 2-3 attack. It's good if there's nothing on your opponent's field and there's nothing else you can get out. We also have Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. Relatively easy to get out if you have a low level dragon on the field. Mainly for getting the dragon types that have been destroyed out of the graveyard and onto your side of the field. Then we have Blue Eyes White Dragon. Mainly for large attacks if you have cards on the field that are too weak and you get this on the field. So generally just for attacking. White Stone of Legend for getting Blue Eyes into your hand quickly. You can tribute it and discard it, whichever, you'll get a Blue Eyes. Then we have Neospatian Grand Mole, which I mainly use for getting rid of my opponent's powerful monsters, since I just send them back to hand, which is the main reason it's in this deck. Not really useful for anything else, but it still works pretty well. Then we have Phantom King High Ride, which is the only way I have in this deck for getting one of my only synchro out on the field, which you will see later on, since it is a dark type tuner. But relatively weak and won't last too long on the field. We also have Buster Blader for going against dragon types. seeing as he gets 500 for every dragon in your opponent's graveyard. So quite good if you're up against certain opponents. We also have Destiny Hero Defender, mainly for stalling, since he has 2700 defense. Not really used for much else except for tributing, but yeah, it's mainly used for stalling, so yeah. We also have Spirit Reaper, which is another stalling card, seeing as you can't be destroyed by battle. I usually just set it while I'm waiting for some good cards to come out the deck. Then we have Snipe Hunter, so if you think you're a lucky guy and you want to have a few dice rolls based on your luck, you can try and destroy some of your opponent's monsters that way instead of full out attacking them. After that we have Fossil Dyna Pachycephalo. Seeing as this deck doesn't rely too much on special summons, you can stop your opponent's special summoning as well, while you just tribute for high attack monsters. So it's good for keeping your opponent's field clear, which can be pretty useful, especially if it was in face down defense. Then the last monster we have is Man-Eater Bug, mainly for getting rid of opponent's monsters when need be. After that we have the spells. We have Pot of Duality for searching out our cards. However, it does stop you special summoning, which can be annoying at times if you have certain cards in your hand. Then we have Gear Town for our ancient gear monsters, so we can summon them for one less tribute or none at all if they have the right level. And it's good for getting ancient gears in the field when it's destroyed as well. Then we have Sword of Deep Seated for powering up our high attack monsters mainly, just so they've got a wee bit extra attack and can do more damage to your opponent's life points. After that we have Swords of Burning Light, so that you can stall for a little while you're waiting for some good monster cards or just general traps or spells. Difficult position, and you have no monsters on the field and are about to be attacked. And do a scapegoat, we have our cat tokens, since I love cats. Don't ask me why. Right, back to the spells. After that we have Lightning Vortex for clearing your opponent's field in a relatively quick and easy way. So we do have to discard a card, so it isn't as good as Regeki, or it's better than Dark Hole since you're keeping your own monsters, but yeah, it works most of the time. We also have Mystical Space Typhoon, so this can be used for many different ways, like getting rid of Gear Town yourself for an ancient gear, or clearing your opponent's field, or if you have any spells or traps that are face down that need to be destroyed. For example, you used artifacts, you could do it that way. We have Double Summon, which makes it easier to get out certain monsters, XYZs, Synchros, anything you want. Can be useful when you have nothing on the field. Then we have Hand Destruction, good for if you have nothing useful in your hand and your opponent has quite good stuff on them that you know of. Then we have Mausoleum of the Emperor for our high level attack monsters. Sorry, high level monsters. So it makes it easier to get them out, however it does cost life points, which can be a downside if you are quite low already. So maybe not the best card, but it'll do. And what deck isn't complete with Dark Hole? Just destroys all monsters in field, good for just blowing up everything. And if you have something to summon after that, it's good for just free life points if your opponent doesn't have any traps. Then, Sword of Concealing Light, if you have some cards that do piercing damage, it is relatively good to work with them, seeing as all monsters go face down, and if you memorise their defences, then it would be it's even more useful then. Then we have Ancient Rules for getting blue eyes on the field easily without tributing. So basically a high level and attack monster right away if you have both in your hand. Then, for our super defense robots, we have Burial from a Different Dimension. So if you use their XYZ effects, then you will have a couple of them banished. So you can use this to get them back into the graveyard, and Monkey's effect to get them back to your hand. And then Black Pendant, like Sword of Deep-Seated, just for getting high level attack monsters a higher attack for more life points. But this one also does 500 damage when it leaves the field. Now for the traps, we have Magic Cylinder. Quite a lot of decks have this, which is good for when your opponent attacks. Trap Jammer, good for any traps that your opponent has when you try to attack, or if your opponent tries to negate any of your traps when they attack. We also have 2 Colossal Haunteds, for getting our high attack monsters back out the graveyard if they were destroyed, for example by traps or by battle. Or if you have just used Dark Hole, it's good for getting them back after that. Then we have Safe Zone, amazing for keeping all your monsters, a monster, on the field that you want. For example, an XYZ, or I personally use it for Fossil Dino-Pachycephalo, to keep it on the field, so there's a longer time for your opponent not to special summon. We also have Royal Decree. However, this can backfire a little bit on yourself if your opponent manages to get some high attacking monsters onto the field. So it's maybe not the best at some points, but if you have no traps on the field except for this, it can be really good for them. After that we have Kunai with Chain, good for when your opponent's attacking, or for raising your monster's attacks by 500. After that we have Scrapine Scarecrow, one of the best negate attack traps in my opinion, just because you can set it back down afterwards. So really useful at all times. Then we have Waboku, so our monsters won't be destroyed this turn by battle, of course. However, it can so there's not. I've never really had any problems with using this, so it's really quite useful if your opponent has a couple of monsters on the field that can destroy you. Then we have Spellbinding Circle, which can be really useful. It's not as good as some other cards, for example Fiendish Chain, but I have it in my deck because it's mainly just my. Let me find my words for a second, please. I don't usually encounter something I need to negate the effect, unless it's a Synchro or XYZ, which I don't come across unless you're using it, because you will take 500 during each of your standby phases and your monster cannot attack or change battle position. It can be really annoying if used against you, but it's amazing when you're using it yourself. Now, that is it for the main deck, and now we're onto the extra deck. We have Grenosaurus, good for if you have low levels on the field, level 3 to be exact, and you need to do some extra damage to your opponent using its effect. We also have Photon Papilloperative, good for if your opponent likes to set a lot of monsters and you have some strong monsters on the field to attack with. Relatively easy to get out. We also have Shark Drake, good for just doing a little bit extra damage to your opponent's life points. Relatively easy to get out, but it really depends on what you have in your hand at that moment in time. We also have 2 Googly Eyes Drum Dragons for our XYZs for our Super Defense robots. A really good XYZ, since if its effect still works, you can choose to have it need destroy 3 times before it will finally be off the field. But even then, you could still have it come back using some effects or whatever you have. And the last card in my extra deck is Beals of the Diabolic Dragons, which I use my Dark type tuner Phantom King Hyride to get out. Now it's really good because it can be destroyed by card effects or by battle, and if it is attacked or you attack a higher attack monster, then it will gain the difference to its attack, which is originally 3000. So it can be really useful if you get it out when your opponent has some high attacking monsters on the field, so you can get one out yourself pretty easily. Also use Jumbo Drill for that level 5, since I don't need to tribute summon for that. So a really good card. And that is it for my deck profile. So if this like I said, if this helped you, then like, comment and subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh videos or more deck profiles. I'm currently in the middle of making a Photon Galaxy deck, which should be finished pretty soon, and I will also do a deck profile on that. So yeah, that's Kalze from the Iron Warriors. Goodbye.